can see that I have one viewer. Can you hear me? I have two viewers. Can anybody hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hmm. It worked! I see
I hear
you.
you.
I see you, Kate.
Very good. Can you hear me, Abby?
Yeah, finally.
Good.
Okay, so I think so. Next time we do this, let me make sure I know how I did it. Oh, so at the top of the feed, I'll show you my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. But I need you to disappear. Here we go.
I can do that.
Okay, so at the top of my screen, does it look like it's infinity screen right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead and change that. Anyways, there's this little guy right here that I always have to, I guess that I have to invite people or send the actual Hangouts link versus the YouTube broadcasting link.
Oh, okay.
So don't let me forget that next time. Okay, I'm gonna stop screen sharing now. But well, it looks like we've got Alex and Richard on Slack right now, but they haven't joined us. Who's presenting tonight?
I think it's just me, unless I didn't get the most updated
Oh,
spreadsheet.
really? What is it, week 4?
Isn't it week 4 already?
I have no idea, guys. I am so just
Yes,
Like-
I believe it is.
Yeah, I think it's week 4.
I thought we had at least, I don't know. For some reason I thought we had more than like one each week, but that's totally fine if it's just you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't, on this spreadsheet here, I don't see anybody else for week 4.
I have down, let's see here, week 4. Actually, another object creation functions. So the object creations like we did last week by Cade.
Yep.
And then JSON parse by Alex.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So we should have 3.
2.
Just 2, I think.
Okay. Well, if you're ready to go, Kate, I mean, we're recording, so I guess whoever pops back in, we can get them. Wait, so Kate, Alex, and Justin, right? This week?
For tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, what's Justin doing? I didn't see his.
I don't know. Is he kind of been MIA?
Yeah, I don't see anything on.
We're gonna help my son real fast.
Okay.
Be back in a second.
The one I have, I see we've put X's by his name, but I don't think he's assigned himself a week to him unless I don't have the most current spreadsheet.
It kind of looks like to me, he may have taken his name off of here.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if he dropped the class.
Maybe.
That's not cool. Didn't say
Oh.
anything.
Yeah, you should have let us know.
I'm gonna look on the class list. If you're okay waiting just another minute. Sorry, it's
Oh, that's fine.
delayed tonight. Okay. What's his last name?
Cox, I think.
Fox.
COX.
Okay. Still listed as a student and also in the class list here. Looks like he's online on iLearn right now. Well, okay, well, if you want to go ahead and get started, you are welcome to.
Okay. Righty. All right, you guys seeing my screen?
Let me try and make it the primary. Hang on just a second.
Yes, I
Present
can see it.
everyone. Okay, so as I talk, does it still show it? Like it's not bringing my name up, is it?
Not for me. I
Um,
made Cade's the
yeah,
primary.
just click on
Oh,
my
good.
screen.
You have your Screen-O-Matic on there?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
how do you get
Yeah,
that
that's
off?
what I did
Fine.
last week. Just note you do only have 15 minutes with this, so
Yeah, I just hit the pause button. It won't take me too long to get through it.
Okay.
All right, shall we go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, now it's going to go again. Okay, so we're going to go over objects in JavaScript, and I'll try not to confuse the two. So I'm taking a class right now with object-oriented programming only on Java, and so these are both new to me, and so I've had a hard time not getting them construed in my mind. But interestingly enough, the principles are very similar. It's just usually the syntax that is different. And so, okay, so just a little bit about the objects within JavaScript. How familiar are you two with objects in JavaScript?
okay with it.
Okay, how about you, Abby?
I just finished CIT 160, and so it's fairly fresh in my mind.
Okay, well, if I get something wrong, please correct me. Don't teaching false principles here. So
Okay.
in JavaScript, almost everything is an object or can be turned into an object. And so functions, arrays, dates, your math, that's always set as an object. The numbers and strings and booleans, if you declare them with a new in front of them, you can turn them into an object. And so you can see this example down here, and this will follow through my presentation. It'll kind of build on it, and we'll see how it develops. But we have this object here or this variable, my job, and we create it as a new object when we define it here. With properties, we need to fill the object. So if we just create it, it really does nothing because it's vacant. There's no properties within it. With properties, it's similar to variables, only that they're hard and fast to the object itself. And so you can, if you know from 160 how they define variables, properties are pretty much the same. You can call these properties with a dot notation here with the object name dot property name. And so if we reference back to the variable I created, or the object I created in the last screen, we call that and give it and pass this information to it or assign this information to it. This is where, with methods, this is where you really are able to use the object and cause some action to come upon it. And if you follow this line here, these methods are really functions within your properties, and so you assign them or define them here in the properties. So you have your object here, and you're defining your properties here, and you just define another property, but you give it the parameter of a function, and then you can define that function, and when you run this, this will return, obviously, the widgets RS pays us a manager 50,000. So really, the method is where you get movement in this object. Let's see, inheritance. This is where the last couple of screens I kind of had a knowledge from 160, and so it wasn't too hard to increase. With inheritance and instantation, I'm a little less familiar with it, and I've done some research over the last week on it, and I'm still a little fuzzy. And so if I get off track here, please don't hesitate to correct me. Just a second to pull something up here. Okay. And so I looked a lot on W3 Schools, and then Mozilla Developer has I guess it's a forum that you can go on and do some research. And then there's a couple other forums that I looked at for inheritance. Most other object creation, JavaScript, the inheritance is natural. With JavaScript, it's not a classical inheritance based on a class. You have to use it through a prototype property. And one way to do that is with a constructor function. I won't go over that in detail for this presentation because we could spend quite a bit of time on that, but there's two ways, and one way is just to declare it, and to declare it like this, and then it is assumed that the methods and the properties are inherited through this job.object or object.job, excuse me. The other way is with constructor functions, and so you create this function, and then you create this variable, and the properties within this variable inherited from this new job object. So this, you could think of this as the parent job, and this is the child, my job. And so there's that relationship that this variable pulls its methods and properties from this object of job. Let me make sure I've got some notes here. I need to make sure that I went through everything on inheritance. Let me read this example that I found. It says, you can create a fruit function, an object, since all functions in JavaScript are objects, and add properties and methods on the fruit prototype property. And then all the instances of the fruit function will inherit all of the fruit's properties and methods. Okay. With this I can't even say this word tonight, instantiation, as I learned about it, it makes sense to me that you could compare it to a beehive, I guess. And so within your function, you have these instances, and these are within the object, you have these instances. And so you have all these bees performing, say worker bees performing these same set of tasks, but they never bump into each other, they never conflict, or they never duplicate a task that has already been created or already been done. They may do another task that is the same task, but they won't repeat it or overlap it. And so these tasks aren't conflicted to the point that you lose them when you end an instance. They're always there to be called upon again. And I found 4 types of this instantation, and I think the easiest way to show that is, oh, now I've done it. What did I do? All right. Okay. So in NetBeans is what I was using, and I wanted to go back to brackets because I used it last semester and I haven't used this NetBeans before, and so I was having a little trouble getting everything to work like it should, and I'm still troubleshooting on that. But if you can see here, this is just a rough example of how this instantation would work. You create your variable up here, assign it a function, and then within that, you create these instances and methods. And then at the bottom, you call it to return some instance. And then you call it down here with the myfunc log a, and then it will return this line here, this return a. And so you can call any one of these through the correct syntax here on this line, and you haven't disturbed anything else. Those all live within there, and you can't hurt them or mess them up when you run them. I think I've covered, did double check my notes here. Okay, I think I've covered what I had. Do you guys have any questions? I'm sure it's clear as mud. It made a lot more sense when I was researching it, but now that I say it, I don't know how much sense it really makes to me. I'm going to go back.
I think you have to kind of walk through the code yourself a couple times to really kind of understand what's happening, and when you call the function, what it's actually asking for to return. I was going to say the thing that has confused me in the past is the this keyword.
Yeah.
Attached to another, like a variable or an object, and just following that along, like what if it's talking to the global object or a local object. So yeah, this will hopefully be a good refresher as I look into more of it. So I appreciate you taking the time to teach us a little bit on this.
Abby, if I understand that, so this, it's only a local, it only calls the local function, doesn't it? It doesn't call anything global. It's only with what instance you're working in. Is that correct?
Well, I was just looking in the Mozilla developer thing where, and it says, a global context says in the global execution context, which is outside of any function, this refers to the global object, whether in strict mode or not. And then I guess inside a function, the value of this depends on how the function is called. So it might depend on if it's strict mode or non-strict mode.
Okay. I'd have to do some research on that then. So. Okay. Just to make sure, did you guys see anything that I said that was incorrect so that I can correct that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, I just installed NetBeans myself for another class, and I'm not used to it either. So, but yeah, looking, the code on the screen is just a little bit small, so I'll have to zoom in here in a little bit.
And I tried to zoom it for the recording, and it wouldn't. For whatever reason, NetBeans won't zoom. The rest of the windows would zoom, and I can't get this enlarged.
Yeah, something we'll have to learn how to do in there. But yeah, I like brackets as well.
Well, it was easy to run it, and then you see your how your code would return right there. And this one, when it wasn't running the way it was supposed to, and so I'll have to do a little work with it, I guess, or go back and download brackets again. So. Yeah.
Or you could try. I think it was. David suggested last time a CodePen, where you can go do some
that's right.
live code in there. So you might want to try that as well, and then it'll return.
Yeah, CodePen's really fun just for messing around with code, trying something new, just see what it does. It's really great for that. You just kind of type in the code and it just kind of does it. And it's also fun that they have lots of examples of just, you can see what other people are messing with, and you can just go in and you can even mess with their code and start figuring out how they did what they did.
Yeah, I've got another one that I like to use too. It's kind of a weird name. I don't even know if it's actually a word, but repl.it is, and you can choose your language on there, of course.
.it, you said?
Yeah, so I guess REPL it. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
how you
okay.
pronounce it, but that's another one that's nice. And so it splits the screen and, shows you the result on the console on the right hand side. So I think you have to have like an account if you want to save any code in there, but to run it, like there's nothing you have to do. So
Oh, that's pretty good. Well, I had a professor last semester that all he did was rant and rave about how cool this NetBeans was, and I have to have it for a couple classes this semester. And I'm sure if you know how to use it, I'm sure it is, but I haven't figured out the workings of it yet. And so I have to try some of these other
yeah,
ones.
I was kind of forced to install it because I'm taking CAT 336 backend development, and I couldn't, and I still don't know how or why, but I was in brackets and I couldn't get my code to run how I needed it to. And so I went over to NetBeans, and as soon as I right clicked and pushed run, it was okay. But I'm thinking it's like the live preview with brackets and PHP. Something wasn't going right for me there. So I'm not sure if I was running the live preview wrong, but yeah, so NetBeans is.
Yeah, I think brackets, doesn't it just run HTML live preview?
Yeah, if you put in, I think you can go to like project settings, and it lets you put in like your local host information, and it just was not working for me. So I went to NetBeans because that's what we were instructed to do, and so might as well follow the rules if you want to get things to work right, I guess.
I'm used to using Notepad++, but that's just a personal preference. It doesn't have the live preview, but I'm used to just having my Chrome open or something and just hitting the refresh button.
Like, yeah, just seeing it in the console right there.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to doing, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it just depends on like your preference, and yeah, I was against installing NetBeans, but I'm like, whatever, let's just make this work.
They're all better than what is it? TextPad or something. I think that's what I.
Oh, really?
Notepad.
Yeah,
Notepad that's built into Windows. Just to.
Oh, okay.
I actually started with programming originally. Was just in the built-in text editor.
Okay. I'm messaging Alex right now just to see if he's, because it looks like he is
I haven't
on.
seen anything. Yeah, he's on Slack, but he hasn't said anything.
Right. And he's usually quick to respond because he's probably got the app on his phone, which gives him notifications. So I don't know.
Yeah. Going forward on the schedule, this, personally, I'm going to have to do quite a bit more study on inheritance and instantiation.
Yeah.
Do you want? I think it was Alex who was going to teach us next time, wasn't he? Yeah. I think he's got signed up to teach it. If he doesn't do it or has something else, I'd be glad to review it again and see if I can't.
Okay.
A little bit more to it.
Okay. Yeah, if we're going the way we are, having as many presentations throughout the week, we're going to need some review on a lot of things. So it's kind of interesting how we had a schedule, but I don't know. Maybe those guys will upload their presentation.
I guess the thing that gets me is, most every other class, everything's kind of specified what they want. And this, I really didn't know what to talk or to instruct about. What part of it are they wanting? Are they wanting a in-depth or overall information they want back? And so I guess that's maybe a class decision.
I think the best route might be to go, what would you like? If somebody was teaching it to you, how would you like it laid out?
Yeah.
Well, and ultimately,
I
I
don't know
mean,
how.
it's to teach us to do our, you know, how we've got the fluency, so we've got to build something and do something with it on our own website for the fluency. So, you know, I think somehow people have got to find a way to tie it into their website and do that. So
Yeah, what I'm trying is I just kind of started doing my own kind of little project that it's helped me keep a little bit more motivated
yeah.
to try making something myself and adding all this stuff to it. It kind of started just with the first one I was working on and seeing what it can do, and then kind of just making something and then looking, it's like, oh, I could do this with it. Oh, that would include this, and oh, this would include this. Some of them I might have to shoehorn a little bit more in, but I think that's helped me. Gives me an idea of where I'm going and what I would like to do with it, and then it kind of brings it all together into one type of project as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, you're the only one who's done a fluency meeting, right? Out of our group.
as far as I know, it wasn't that bad. It was basically just I just submitted and said, here's a link to my website, here's the code I've done. And then he looked at it and just went through and said, okay, this is where you're at. I see you did this, this, and this. And that was basically what he did. And he kind of just graded it basically on where it's at and said, okay, this is where you would be right now. So that's nice to be able to just see that. And it basically, he just kind of updates that grade so you can see. You can go back to it and maybe see some holes. It's like, okay, this is what I need to work on a little bit more or get into. So at first there's a lot of like right now it's basically been just last week was mostly what I did everything in. Second week we did a little bit, but yeah, last week I think was the first full week where I really just kind of dove into the code and really was doing stuff. And so it's not that bad. It's more just submitting what you have, and he kind of tells you if you're on track or not.
Okay.
Hey, David, when you compiled that, do you just give him the code, or do you
I just
include
sent
like
him the link to my web page. So for example, and then I just told him, I think in the email, if I remember correctly, what I did. Okay, so I just sent him, here, I'll just show you what I sent him.
On a side note, yeah, he when he emailed or he gave an announcement, he said, do not send me your GitHub code. Don't just send the code. He wants to see the site and how it's working. So don't just send the code.
Okay. So he just wants a link to the site then.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just a second. Yeah, so this is, okay, can you see my screen?
Oh yeah, but it's me. Hold on. Why is it showing me as presenting?
So this is what I posted. I just made, this is just a table here with all the different categories. And so I said, this is what I worked on, put the date over here, just so I think I remember seeing something, just so he can also visit later. Or he can look at this site very quickly and go, oh, look at the dates. And I think, oh, that was right. I was also gonna, I think I have another column here that I need to put something on of his feedback as well, just so when he comes back, he knows what he's already looked at and hasn't looked at. And
oh, that's
I
nice.
just give a quick little description here of this is what I did, and then here's just the links. They're basically the same project. It's similar to what I presented. The only difference is I have it set up where I can choose. It creates 3 different characters, and then I added a function in once it goes to this other page where I can So these are each objects, and then they have a function where I could damage or heal. So this just runs the damage function on this character and lowers the number. And then if I want to heal them, this runs another little function or whatever, and I can heal them back up.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of an example of just what I did. And I think this is kind of like that object thing where you're talking about, I think that's the instance thing. I'm not sure, but I think that's what this is, where basically I can run that little function in here, the damage, and it just does it for him. And this person has one as well. And so I can run the function on this person as well, and it doesn't conflict with this one. They each kind of have their instance, I guess, of it. And so they each can be doing their own thing. They're running the same exact. They're both calling the same function, but they are both, they have their, they kind of do it for themselves.
Yeah, so the damage and heal, would that be, that would be the object, and then it's calling.
This whole thing right here is the object.
Uh-huh.
Object is here. I can show you my object. Oh, not that one. Inspect. And oh, I got it zoomed in a bit. Oh well. Source. Here's my JavaScript. If I can find it. Oh, okay. Why am I not seeing you? Ooh. I'm looking.
Woohoo, we have Alex.
Hey guys,
Got it?
Alex, how are you?
I'm okay.
Sorry your kids are sick.
Yeah, went to 2 different doctors today.
Yeesh.
Oh, that's no fun.
Bummer. They're on antibiotics now, so they should be doing better soon. But it's
Yeah.
rough.
Hey, have you heard anything from Justin by chance?
No.
Okay.
What's Justin's last name?
Cox?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't. I have a Justin in a group from another class that I haven't heard from either, so I thought I might be getting
And then
Wonder if we should email our
Who was
instructor
on
to
last
see
week?
if he.
I was there. It wasn't very many of us though.
I think it was just me and David and Alex, wasn't it?
okay, so we haven't seen Richard since the first meeting.
I think Richard was there last week. Look.
Here's my object here. Comes down to here.
What's that?
I can show you what I'm doing here.
Oh, okay, so
Objects. So I have this hero object. Each of them kind of has that property where we got a name, and that gets passed in when it's created, a profession, which is passed in, and the gender, which is passed in. Then it has another variable that's max health, and that's based on the profession. I'm using a switch statement to figure that out. And then the health, the current health, just to start with, I have it set up as the max health. And then I have these 2 functions here. So they each have one. There's a damage, and so it just checks, it just minuses whatever the value is that gets passed in from the health. And if it goes below 0, then just set it to 0. And this one with the heal passes in an amount as well. And then just if it goes higher than the max health, then I just set it to the max health. And so when I'm hitting this damage over here, it's running this damage function for this object, so that this is referring to this object. And so it's getting this object's health. Does that make sense?
that is like a perfect example of that instantiation, isn't it? From
I think so. I think
what I
that's what the
understand.
instantiation thing is here. If I'm I don't know if I completely understand it, but it sounds like maybe what it is it's kind of, they all can run the damage and they all can run that function, but it's just running it for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it accesses that method, but it never affects any of the other objects in there.
So yeah, when I hit it for this one, it just does it for that one, and it doesn't affect the other ones. Their health stays the same. So I do this and damage him while these ones stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just have this one that I created just for fun, that if I want to, I can damage them all at the same time. But all it does is it basically fills in this information and then runs this damage individually for each one of them. It just goes through like a loop.
Pretty amazing.
Man, do I feel behind or what?
Yeah.
I
Maybe you
think I've
should
been
have taught
doing
this
this
lesson,
a lot
David.
longer.
I'm right there with you in the behind portion.
I'm finding I've done this a lot longer than most people, and it's helping my confidence at least. I think I've had low confidence. Do I really know this stuff? And as I'm getting more into it, it's like, oh, I think I know a bit more than I thought I knew.
Well, it's nice. I guess it is nice to have the feedback from the teacher, because then he's like, yes, you are, you're fluent, or you still need to work on something. I'm always afraid, like, I would like to use best practices. I'm always afraid that I'm not using best practices. And so it's like, I don't feel like I know exactly what I'm doing, but.
I don't know if Brother James was the one that mentioned it or if I found it somewhere else recently, but I think that's exactly what imposter syndrome is, right? Where you always kind of feel like you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like you're faking it a little bit, but you're not faking it. You really know. It's pretty obvious.
It's also
Cool.
funny to think when you go research this stuff, it makes sense to you. And then when you try to communicate it to someone, then you're like, well, you kind of doubt yourself and think, well, I don't know if I understand that as much as I thought I did in my, in my own head when I was learning it. So.
Right.
Yeah, with this, I do feel actually doing the coding is what's helped the most. Just getting into it and having code you're working with and just outputting the code. The reading's okay. That's basically what I did my first week, especially since I was on vacation. I had an app that kind of went over JavaScript really quickly, and I just went through that really fast, but it was kind of very simple, and had it'd teach you a little bit and then give you a little quiz where you basically enter just a little bit in. But diving into the codes helped me a lot. And then, yeah, it has motivated me actually trying to create something that feels like it'd be fun to do or something, and seeing where I could go with it.
What app is that? What app are you talking about?
What app was it?
Yeah.
I think it was Solo. Let me look. It was Solo something. Solo Learn.
Okay. Is that one that's like Learn? Is it like the iris looking thing?
I believe so.
Colors?
Has like a couple different colors to it, or lots of colors kind of spiraled around each other in a
Okay,
circle.
yeah, I have okay. And it's like Learn Python, Learn CSS, Learn JavaScript.
Yeah, so I just went through the JavaScript one that first week, is basically what I did that first week.
Awesome. I'm going to get that one.
It was a quick refresher for me, and also going over a couple topics I wasn't quite aware of much of, or it was a good starting point. But I did get more out of it. I guess part of it is that local host, or the local storage. When I dived into that, I think I got lucky that week too, where I got into it last week, and it was really fun to just kind of see what I could do with it and try figuring out, okay, what can this be used for? What would I like to use it for? Let's come up with an example that I can build upon, and did a little bit. And it's like, oh, well, I can do this with it next, and then that. And so we'll see how it you may see this code pop up quite a few times with me that I have, because I'll probably be building upon it.
Probably good for us too, as learning that we saw you use that code the last time and you come back around to it, we already are familiar with how it worked the last time. We can build upon that. It's not learning a new set of code too.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, how to get, like the basics, I think is just learning the individual pieces, and then I think the highest level is as we start using them together is where that highest level, I think he's talked about that as well.
Yeah, I think in the one office hours, he said he would like to see the 13 initial lessons taught by us, and then when we move to the up levels, if we combine them and do 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 lessons and showing how we can combine them, and then it brings us up on the grade and the proficiency.
Well, cool. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
I don't.
All right. Well, I guess we haven't really sent a recording to the teacher yet, so I'll either send this or upload it to our Slack page so he can look at it whenever he needs to.
Yeah, I'd probably just upload it to the Slack, and we can just kind of point him here, and if he wants to watch it, he can.
Right. Okay. Will do. Yeah, that way then everybody else can see it too. So
I'll put mine in.
Us invited him to our meetings, or
I'm not really sure how to do it since we've had such problems with Hangouts on air. Because it's like I can't do it until right before.
well, I think it's just inviting him, letting him know maybe of the time,
What time? Yeah.
or maybe even I think I listened to last week's, and he mentioned I don't know, somehow sending him basically like a meeting where you set up a meeting or a reminder in the email or something, and so it reminds you every time.
Okay.
And
I'll have
just
to
in
look
that
into
email,
that.
just have a link to the Slack, and he can visit.
So he's actually a member of our Slack. Did you know that?
He is. I know I saw him.
Okay.
DT James, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more just letting him know that we're meeting at 8 o'clock on Thursdays.
Do you mind trying to do that?
I can do
Sending
that.
him a reminder, a continuous reminder.
I can see if I can do that. Do we know which email he wants for that?
Gmail, because
His email one? Okay.
well, no, I guess he wanted Gmail if you were going to invite him to the Hangouts, but if we're not inviting him to a specific Hangout, then maybe just send him a reminder in just our BYU Idaho email. Tell him he can refer to Slack.
I think there's one he said he looks at, but I can't remember which one he said he looks at.
Oh, okay. Well, you can always just like put in there if you can find a way to remind him, like send a reminder each time. You could just put the Slack link, and then he'll go into Slack and be able to find our meeting there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking would work best.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find. Okay, I'll see if I can find which one he thinks is best.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Let's go.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. We
See you
had a
guys.
guest tonight recording, so it's awesome. Okay. Have a good night, and we will see you guys next week.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.